Saturday, 12th of April, 2025 at 11:49 a.m. here on Harstine Island, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey. It is your dev and design podcast highlighting how two springtime boys made the world's best astrology software. I am your springtime boy, the designer Jake. He is your other springtime boy, the engineer Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake. Did you say America? Like America?
I probably said America. And if I did, I apologize, because we have no need for that type of language here on this podcast. How are you doing otherwise?
I'm doing good. I'm a little bit tired. I had kind of crappy sleep last night. How about you? I think you slept pretty good, right?
I slept really good. Minus the fact that there were two entities in the bed that were trying to prevent me from sleeping well. It went pretty well. And no, we don't have a throuple. We have a dog.
Well, technically you have two dogs.
Technically I have two dogs. One of them snores a little bit more than the other. You can decide yourself which one that could be. So today's episode is called Icon CU. You are correct in believing that I said that there will never be another pun about icons, but here we are with another pun about icons. If that happened, that episode is right up there where I made the last promise to you for no puns for icons. Today we have a lot of visual things to show you, including what's called Icons Aplenty, the Dignity Box, which is not about icons but has an icon in it, event cards of various sizes. We've got lots of visual things to look at, but before we, are you excited about that, Mr. Henry? I don't know. I don't want to presume.
I am super excited about it. I was just thinking that because we talked about Dignity last week, did we? But we didn't show the
thing.
From week to week, once you've been doing this for as long as we have, like, they blend into each other. Like, it is really hard to remember. Like, what did we do last week? Like,
we have no idea. Before we get to all of that, let's get to the check-in question. Mr. Henry, I ask of thee, because we're going to talk about icons here. When was the last time you looked at something, probably an icon, and said, I have absolutely no idea what that icon means?
I'm trying to think of something that really stands out as like just absolutely ridiculous iconography. The only thing that's popping into my head is the weird, I think it's supposed to be indicating like you could get injured if you stand too close to the doors of like the public transit in Berlin.
Yeah.
But it looks like a guy kind of like doing some kind of like disco move.
Let's see if I can find it. Where would you normally see this? So you can explain this to the viewer.
I think near the doors. I think it's like near the doors of the tram or something like that.
You're talking about this icon, right?
Oh, no, this is really close to it. This is very, very close. Yeah, because this one actually has the train. The one that I'm talking about is like this, but it's like the train isn't there.
Okay. Well, if we
so it really looks like the person is just doing a disco move.
If just imagine this icon with the thing I like about this icon here is that red box is supposed to show danger, but what it looks like is like they're in they went into some zone where they were forced to dance to EDM music, and all of a sudden
it's like that's the music coming from the person with the super loud stereo in the train.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'd be forced to do disco and then possibly get hit by that train.
The answer for me is something that we talked about yesterday with our friend Heather. You would have seen her on an episode back there, the purveyor of the wonderful podcast Magic of the United States. You should listen to all 3 seasons of that, including episode 6, which is our episode. But she has this workout app. And this workout app, she was explaining about why it was so good. And I was looking at the workout app. And of course, because if I don't understand something, I always go right to OOUX with it. And I was OUXing it. This is the exercise card. And you've got like demonstration image and name and number of sets, muscles trained, number of reps. I was like, maybe 0 to many sensitive areas that are hit. And then you've got this data visualization of intensity versus volume. And then this thing, which is, what in the fresh hell is this? So you're like, okay, I guess when you're doing the back squat, you have to go through some kind of vivisection. Like, what is this? And she talked about something to do, I don't know, with hemispheres or some kind of, it's like, it's got this kind of lateral movement as opposed to that.
I just assumed it was like ego versus id or like left brain, right brain. Like, this is going to be this is going to be a better exercise for a more creative person,
So
whereas this is going to be better for an analytical person.
The question I have for you then, Mr. Henry, is the back squat dash deep. Is that more ego or more id for you?
More id.
I think it's more id as well, because you know what? Gotta love those gams. Gams are all about the id, 100%. Well, good check-in, everyone. Good check-in. Let's get to the meat of it all. Let's talk a little bit about icons. Hey, I'm going to go back to my screen for a second. Trey's got the benefit of just sitting back and watching and relaxing while I do all of production and all of the demonstrations. You can.
This was entirely your choice. I did not push this upon you. You were like,
okay.
I'm going to do the demos for my machine.
This is what you're like right now. This is how you are. So we have this thing called chart saved status, and when we have folks being using the software today, the way that Urania works is that you have to do an explicit save. In the future, what we're going to say is there is some cloud thing where you can just automatically save to this stuff, and it is a local first, you can take a look here, local first optimistic UI model for saving. So we want to make sure that it shows offline resilience, that it helps with conflict management, and gives very clear feedback about what is working and what is not working with this whole thing. That's what this chart save status metadata is all about. And there's all these values to it. Like there's no changes, so there's nothing. There's pending changes, saving, saved, failed, conflict. And each of those things, those states, each have a definition to it and a trigger for it. And Trey and I reviewed all of this stuff because we wanted to make sure that this all made sense, right? So basically, when our members are using stuff and they're saving things automatically, and they may or may not have an internet connection, or there may or may not be server issues, we need to make sure that all of that is pretty clear to them so that they know what has been saved and hasn't been saved and what they should do about it if something goes wrong. Is there anything else that I'm missing from that?
No, I think that's correct. The only thing that I might add is that if you've ever had the experience of working in an application that makes that kind of like tries to hide or maybe doesn't promote as well the synchronization status, it could be very frustrating to like suddenly discover that like, oh, like these changes haven't been saved. Like you go to close the window or something like that. It's like, hold on, I haven't like saved these changes.
Yeah.
A lot of applications kind of like do this at the last moment, or they assume that people are going to be confused by an indicator of like, oh, this has been saved properly or it hasn't been saved properly. But because we're building this as an offline first application, it may be that you're actually intentionally offline for some period of time.
Yeah.
And so being able to roll all of that up into kind of like a single information thing, I think it's just going to be really nice. I think it's going to be really, really good because that's what I want applications to do, and they almost never do. And then I end up in some surprise state like I did with what was that? Oh crap! What was the name of the project management software that we used to use?
Linear.
Yeah, Linear did this to us at one point where Linear had some server issues. We thought that it was online. Its indicator was basically non-existent, and we actually ended up losing information. Yep. We actually lost data in the app, which is like the worst case scenario. So
this also happened to me with Notion at one time. Like I wasn't connected, and all of a sudden I lost things, and I got an indicator later, but by the time that I got it, I had lost things. Also, the good folks at OmniFocus, they have a sync server that's called the Omni Sync server. And if you quit the application before things have synced, it will do a freezing state for you that will be like, no, I need to like sync these changes. And I understand why they're doing that. But if they gave some indication to you ahead of time, it wouldn't be so much of a shock. So we're trying to avoid all of that, which is this idea of being kind of offline, like online first, but offline, like responsible offline citizens for folks. Because if you remember, we have hashtag astrology on the bus. Trey was really big into that. We're going to try that as a marketing thing. So these are the, in the spirit of creating icons that are understandable at a glance, here is my attempt at creating these icons. And that's why I asked the question today, because I was like, can I create something that is absolutely understandable from the start. This one, this top one, it's sync. Makes perfect sense. This one, the third one down, is saved or done. Great, makes sense. This one in the middle here with the thing that Trey says looks like an upside down one is supposed to be a clock. That's supposed to be pending, right? Like I can't do anything yet.
Oh, that's supposed to be a clock. I think the thing that makes it not look like a clock is that the center point isn't in the center of the clock.
But when I did do that, it looks funny.
But it looks funny this way too.
Well, it looks funny either way. All right, so I don't know. Maybe we'll make revisions to it. That's my way of saying I don't care. The fourth one down, this X means something's wrong, right? Like it's not going. This one, which is supposed to be a clock, is like I'll get to it eventually. This one's like I can't get to it. I will say, dear viewer, if you could be so kind as to look at this one and think to yourself, what could this possibly be? Because this is a very hard concept to convey here. What you're supposed to be seeing here is that there's something coming down, and there's something going up, and that they are in opposition to one another. And that is my way of trying to say conflict. I used to have them closer together. It looked weirder when they were closer together. I moved them further apart. I kind of like the expression of it because it's kind of like the roundy arrows like this, except they're going the opposite way from each other. Like they're supposed to feel discordant. Trying to get there, okay? Trying to get there. You'll know.
Yeah, I mean, you already know my opinion on this, but just to reiterate it for the record, I really like this indicator of conflict. I think I've seen other conflict icons, and I feel like they are somewhat similar to this, where it's like, yeah, things are going in different directions. Like, it's not lining up. Yeah. And I think that works perfectly. I think if we did have color as an extra indicator, not as a primary indicator, but as an extra indicator, that would also, I think, help reinforce.
We just can't depend on it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, I love these icons. Even the clock one, but I did think that it was like an upside down one or something. I didn't really understand it, but somehow it kind of like felt right. So
yeah, okay. Love it. Now let's take a look at this in Storybook. So you see over here, I've got Storybook up, and what you're supposed to see here is this top bar, this title over here. So it would say something like natal ring with transits or something like that.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. But what you see on the right-hand side is right now what the expression of that state is going to be. There's other stuff that's supposed to be over there, like how you can either pin or bookmark or star a chart. Also, Cher is going to be over there. So I don't know, not CHER Cher. She isn't in our application. SHER.
Do you believe in astrology after love?
She would, absolutely. But for the purposes of demonstration, what we have over here now is the icon with a label on it. We have the save status here, and if I change this to saving, so now all of a sudden it turns into a slight animation of this, and then you can imagine it goes saving, 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 and then you're saved. This would then clear the state of all of that. But if you had pending changes, you can see here it says not currently online. If you hovered over this, it would tell you when you last saved something. So you can see that. If it's failed, it's like that. Or, if there's a conflict, it's like this. Save conflict would be like that. And that's generally what we're going to do for right now. At least those are all the states we'll have for the chart saved. Once we get the chart all assembled together, then we'll see how it all looks together, and we'll probably, or most definitely, we'll make changes about that. Let's talk a little bit about one other thing. So these are all them points that we have. And one of the points that we really care about is just the moon, which does a funny thing like that. And you'll remember in the past that there was a void of course that I thought looked pretty ugly, and I didn't like it. So
it was like a little V/C that kind of like fit into the crescent.
I don't even know if we ever showed it. If we did show it, it will be up there in that episode. But for the most part, like, just know that it was ugly and stupid, and we didn't like it. So now we have, that's what void of course looks like now. So it's just going to say V, not V/C, because I think everyone knows that a moon with a V would mean that she is void.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say void of course. You're like, well, what is she void of if not course? Right?
Sometimes I feel void of course.
That, by the way, is a big question. If the moon is void, if not of course, then what is she void of? I'm sure that it's going to show up in the show notes today. So we have the void of course moon. The only
one thing I really like about the new void of course, is that the other one just looked like scribbles when it was super small, like at the kind of sizes where it might be on like a triple ring or something. Whereas this one, you get this kind of like nice. The V might still be a little bit small. Like we might. I was gonna say it again. We might beef up the V.
We're gonna be. So I'll tell you.
Don't read into that.
It's Trey said we might beef up the V, and I said that sounds very rude because it sounds like a euphemism for blah. You can fill in the blank for what that might sound like a euphemism for.
Anyway, but I like that at a much smaller size, it still reads as like there's something going on with the moon.
Yeah. Trey had mentioned, wouldn't it be nice if the actual icon for the aspect showed whether it was applying or separating? So you might remember back in the day we had showed this for applying versus separating, which is still my preferred icon for applying versus separating. However, it does, I don't know. I look at it again and I'm like, is that applying? Okay, doesn't matter. But now we have these guys here where we have the general icon for each of them in the left-hand column, and then the applying is an arrow towards it. And so it would be this way, an arrow towards it, or separating would be an arrow away from it. Trey believes, and I agree with him, that these are probably too small to read when they are at our UI sizes. He's probably right, but until we get that UI and we can look at that stuff, this will do.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else about icons that you want to talk about? I don't think there's anything else.
No, I think that's it. And then just the dignity.
Yeah. Well, let's get to that right now.
Yeah.
Let's get right to the dig and the nitty. The dig nitty gritty.
Good one.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. There it is. That's the dignity box. I thought you can turn it on right here.
Yeah. So if you, so there's the, yep, exactly. So that'll be the sort of like more dignified, or like, if the planet that you're looking at is currently dignified, then it would show up like this.
Also, it shows up
like
in
its own
stellar light
like
as well.
Yeah. Jake did all of the styling.
Yeah. And if you remember that anything in simple will remove the gradients, because that is what a simple life shall be. And they don't look bad either. Again, until they're assembled into a thing. But like, look at simple dark, you're like, okay. And then you look at stellar dark and you're like, wow, so much depth, so much light. Love it.
So
anything else to show?
There's also these other variants. So this time I built this component. When we did this last time, the component was a little bit weird in how you had to kind of like provide the icons for it and stuff like this. But now you have, so that glyph names there, you could add whatever you want in there. And then you could also add, so if you go to the top of that array there for glyph names, then you could do the add. See right there on the right? Yeah, there you go. And then you could do, whatever, Mercury. So you can specify however many of those that you want. So for like Triplicity Lord, for example, we show all three. And then and the label, obviously. And then the other thing is that we can also do the speed graph. So we overload the dignity button a little bit to do speed. So if you change the label to be like speed, basically, and then remove the one glyph, and then add a speed value there at the bottom, then that's what it'll look like with the speed.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did the speed in there. Right.
Yeah.
This is a very temporary fix until we figure out something better to do. It probably will be, we had talked about this, it probably would be a hover on the speed graph, but there might
Yeah.
be reasons why you want to see it.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think hover is always a little bit difficult if you have specific pieces of disclosure information that you can only get on hover if
Yeah,
your
that's what
device
it
doesn't
was.
have a hover.
Exactly.
So
One other
that's
thing
the
about
problem
this, one other thing about this to note, if I just turn this to dignified, and we'll make it the sun. If you make a really long label, it will do the correct, or as correct as it can, hyphenations. Oh no, what happened to it? I thought that the hyphens were going to be in there.
Oh, found a bug.
Well, it was there. Somebody removed them during a merge.
Oh, that might have happened actually.
Yeah, actually. Okay, well, Trey ruined my code. That's fine. It's very
I
easy.
I didn't like it.
You kind of told me you didn't like it.
It's my passive aggressive way
What
of I just like removed the code, force pushed
Look,
over main.
I think that's aggressive.
No, because I didn't tell you about it.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. That's passive aggressive. Last thing that we're going to show is event cards. So, and you've seen this before, right? So these are the, yeah, actually, let me show it within the panel. It'll be easier. So you can see that the event card is here. I can change it to stellar light, to stellar dark, to simple light, to simple dark. We've showed all
We
of this
demoed
before.
all that before. Yeah.
But what we hadn't demoed is that what we need a micro card that would sit on top of the right-hand panel, not the left-hand panel. We're going to show it in the left-hand panel for the purposes of this demonstration, but it needs to sit at the top of the right-hand panel to show you, for this point placement, this is the ring that it is referring to. And for that, what we do is this thing called a micro card, and you can see now it anchors to the top. It goes full width of the panel, and also keeps the exact same theming, like so.
Lovely.
Lovely. And so eventually what you will see is when we get point placement all the way finished, that will be in there as well. It's all going to come together. It's got to come together in the next 8 weeks, because that's what we promised, for sure.
We got to jam on it.
We're going to jam on it, and it's going to be jammed. Let's get to the very end here. What do you think that the good viewer should do with all of their precious time and energy this week, Mr. Henry?
They should take a picture of a ridiculous icon in the wild and post it to Blue Sky or some social network thing. There's just UX people all over the world who love to critique this sort of thing. So just be like, oh my God, what were they thinking?
My favorite icon of all time, if I go to the noun project and I go here and I type butthurt, why is there an icon for butthurt? I love it. So find icons like this. Be well. Take care. We love you very much. Don't be butthurt, but do find those good icons. And we're going to see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.